Hello and welcome to a special edition of the short Vort on Parshas Vayikra. This is the annual Yahrzeit edition, Lezecher Nishmas and Le'iloi Nishmas Imi Marasi Gittel Bas Moshe Z Lillian Levy Aleha Shalom. This year is different because normally the Parsha comes out as Sav and or Mitzvah, and this is the first time that I remember, and definitely the first time as a short Vort, that it came out on Vayikra because the day comes out, the Yahrzeit is on Shabbos itself, which is also unusual. So it gives us an opportunity to frame the topics a little bit differently than in the past. Of course, it's difficult. We've had so many years of discussing my mother's Milos that it's hard to find something new and fresh. But one of the things that regarding the topic of Korbanos, that I've moved away from calling a Korban a sacrifice to wanting to call it an offering in terms of a translation. However, I was looking at Rav Shamshon, Raphael Hirsch, and he rejects both of these languages. He says that a korban is not a sacrifice that someone's giving up for himself for the benefit of someone else or something else, or not an offering, which also he says in the English translation presupposes a wish, a desire, requirement for what is going to benefit on the part of the one for whom it is brought, where some need is satisfied. So Hashem doesn't have any need that we have to satisfy. So what is a korban? Korban is part of a language of kuf, reis, beis, bringing something close. It's making a closer relationship between the individual bringing the korban and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So while Rav Hirsch may reject these translations, some of these translations regarding a relationship to Hashem, but when it comes to a mother will sacrifice for her children. A mother does bring offerings to fulfill needs of her children, and a mother does want to have a close relationship with her children. In the fourth edition of the Penimim HaTorah, so it mentions there that at the end of the Shmos is talking about the construction of the Mishkan, of the sanctuary in the desert, and every Jewish home is a small version of the Mishkan. But the way to do that is you want to make a Mishkan Ha'edas by providing a certain testimony about the centrality of Torah in the family. And the way to do that is in Parshas Vayikra, Pasuk Beis of Perak Aleph. It says, Adam ki yakriv mikem, a person when he brings from you, mina behema, from the animals, etc. So he says there's this Rebbe Moshe Swift, the Zecher Levracha, says that a Jewish home becomes a Mishkan Katan when the parents sacrifice some way by, and he uses the word sacrifice, mikem, something from you, whether it's from your time, some of your emotion, as well as if it comes alternatively, and in addition to, mina behema, from an animal, meaning from your possessions, from your earnings. So he concludes with one final thing, that for one more sacrifice is desirable, and that is showing the emphasis and support of a child's Torah study. And we discussed in 2015 short Vort Yahrzeit one of the key points that demonstrated how my mother acted, that showed me how important my learning of Torah was for her. But clearly a parent, and my mother did fulfill these ways of showing her love and her care for me and as well as to my siblings. When I was younger, whether I was sick in school, she would take the time out of her day to pick me up, or to prepare the foods, the toast or the soup or whatever. I had a stomach ache, she was there. Parents, of course, paid the tuition, so that's where part of the monetary where they're giving up. It's also the acts of staying awake at night, waiting for us to get home safely when we were younger, and even call when you get home. Later on, my dad would want. But, then there's also, my mother would go to shidduch meetings, give her time to find. I still have some of those notepads, that yellow notepads where she wrote that information. This is before the resumes and all that. So there's so many ways which my mother took care of me. And, I was on a Zoom date recently, and the young lady asked me, if my family is close, I'm close with my siblings. And I always feel that's a strange question. How do you answer? What's the definition of being close with your siblings? And I thought I was close with my siblings. And I told her that every Erev Yom Tov and every Erev Shabbos, at a minimum, I speak to all my siblings. We all call each other. Now we even have Zoom on a weekly basis that we've been doing on Tuesday nights. And she said that if you call each other once a week, that's considered close. So to me, I take that for granted. To me, that's normal. But for everyone, for other people, it may not be normal. Hopefully for you, that is something normal or even greater. So these things that my mother would do, to me, I consider them normal. How she would take care of us, how my father would take care of us. Maybe not for everyone, what I consider normal and how caring my parents were, and they were always there for me. It's not, to me that's normal, but maybe not for everyone. I hope that for everyone it is. But you should appreciate your parents. If you're zocheh to have your parents around, tell them you love them, tell them that you care for them, and create that greater closeness and connection with your parents. So please do a mitzvah. Le'ilu Nishmas, my mother, Gittel Bas Moshe, Lillian Levy. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful Shabbos.